Good morning. Welcome back to the Broadcast Retirement Network. This is BRNAM for Friday, January 19th, 2024. And our top story today, shifting the advisory conversation to a human-first approach. And joining me now to discuss this and a lot more, Ross Marino is with Advisor 2X. Ross, great to see you. Thanks so much for joining us on the program this morning.
Appreciate being here. Thanks so much.
Let's talk about the financial advisory industry. It's really undergone a lot of changes in the past decade, but things are really speeding up in terms of the transition for financial advisors. How do you see it?
I think if you look back 10 years, you're going to see this transition or this shift that's been going on. Many years ago, when I first started in this industry, that would be decades, it was very product driven. And eventually that transitioned to financial planning and plan driven. And now I think we're coming into a new age where it's not just about the plan that we're creating, but we're really trying to shift that focus and understand more deeply who this client is, what matters most in life to them, what are they worried about, what are they concerned about, and trying to align what we do with their values. So we've gone beyond the product, we've gone beyond the plan, and now we're really shifting that focus to really understand who are we working with and how can we best help them.
Yeah, and look, I mean, I think adaptation, it's important. Clearly, there's a lot going on in people's lives beyond just saving and planning for their financial futures. They've got children. They've got kids that they're going to take in the soccer practice. They're going to buy a house. It all really fits together. Have financial advisors had difficulty in adapting to this new environment? And if so, why?
I think if you take a look at what we used to do and what people want today, it's so different that yes, it's going to be hard to adapt. So much of what we did years ago, it really was centered on me as a financial planner. I'm the answer man. I have the solution for you. Here's the plan. And then I would share financial advice. Whereas now there's much more of a collaboration that goes on with the client. So instead of me actually answering a lot of questions, I'm now shifting the conversation. And this is what's going on in our profession, where I'm asking the questions, and it's not necessarily things that I know the answer to. So the entire engagement, the process that we work with people, it has shifted. And for many people, if you've been doing that 10, 15, 20 years, it's a hard thing to do.
Yeah, look, change is never easy. And I find like our industry, it's kind of glacial. It doesn't move. It moves like from like ice age or from the Stone Age to the Ice Age, et cetera. Let's talk about client expectations. Let's talk about those individuals. Do they want financial advice, but they also want a lot more as well, I would imagine. They want to be able to go to that person on the other side of the desk or the other side of the phone or Zoom and say, hey, I'm doing this. How does this all fit into my total plan?
That's part of that shift to more collaboration. Whereas before we were more just reactive, where someone would call in and say, here's what we think you should do. Now we're actually sharing information. They're responding. Sometimes they prompt it. Sometimes we prompt it. But the difference is it's not just them asking a question. They now expect us as advisors to actually understand their values, to understand their story, to what really matters to them. And once you go into that world, that's what's different for the client now, is that they actually expect a more personalized experience based on how we understand what makes them tick and what matters to them. I didn't see as much of that or don't recall as much of that, say 10 years ago, whereas today people are definitely expecting a much more personalized experience where the advice that we would give is really tuned just to them and it's not more black box or generic advice.
Yeah, Ross, last question, because I have to go to a commercial break. And I want to ask you about the regulatory environment. And it's January 2024, Secure 2.0. We lived through Secure 1.0. There's even talk now of Secure 3.0. But that regulatory environment, SEC, IRS, Department of Labor, that's a lot to take in if you're a financial advisor, but it's also a lot to take in if you're a client. What are my taxes going to be? At what ordinary income tax rate am I going to be paying? What are the requirements of finding a financial advisor? That's a lot to juggle.
I think years ago, I used to believe that the world was going to get simpler because that's what I would read and that's what I would hear. But it doesn't seem to be that that's the case. Whether it's taxes, whether it's regulation, it seems to be getting more and more complex. It requires even more information and also understanding how to navigate that. I think it's hard for the clients out there, or more challenging than ever, also more challenging than ever for financial advisors. You definitely have to stay on top of everything.
Yeah, you just can't read enough. I think it changes every day. Ross, as I said, I need to take a very quick break. When we come back, we'll talk about human first guidance and shifting the industry. You're going to want to stay tuned right here on BRN AM. Imagine a new television network that will make you richer, healthier, and in control of your financial future. This network is for the policewoman in Nashville, Tennessee, the baker in Dubuque, Iowa, the teacher in Lexington, Kentucky. We want to make the idea of savings and retirement culturally relevant. But what do you see as a defining issue of the midterms? Especially for the smaller businesses. I mean, they are the lifeblood of the American economy. Featuring exclusive interviews, current affairs, and docuseries. 33 years old, you retired early.
The philosophy is money only matters if it helps you live a life that you love.
But you got to start thinking about retirement as soon as you get in.
The Broadcast Retirement Network will drive very high engagement with premium partnerships. So this isn't retirement and savings for your parents or grandparents. This is for all Americans. And we're going to change the way you think about money. Welcome to the next frontier of retirement and savings. This is BRN, the Broadcast Retirement Network. Ross, thanks so much for staying with us. Really appreciate you hanging around for segment number 2 this morning.
Thanks so much. Glad to be here.
And we talked a little bit about this, but I want to build it out a little bit. What's human first financial guidance? What does that mean if you're a client? And what is it, or an individual getting financial advice, and what does it mean for the financial advisor providing this level of guidance?
You hear frequently that we're in the people business, and I think every business tends to say that if they work with people. And certainly as a financial advisor, you are in the people business as well. What we've seen in the past with our industry is that when we talk about being in the people business, we're actually trying to understand the person as it relates to what we do. And what we do years ago was offering a product, and then it became a financial plan. Now, as we're shifting the conversation, it's not just meant to be in the people business or human centric, as people call it, but it's actually human first. And here's what that means. Before I start figuring out what might someone need, I'm actually going to connect with them and look at it as a blank slate. I'm not going to label them as a married person or a single person or a business owner or a retiree. And I'm not going to try to figure out what does this person need based on how I work. I want to go in with a complete blank slate. And as a human first advisor, I want to ask, and I even have a coffee cup here just to keep me on track. What are you thinking? How are you feeling? As I ask these different questions, then I'll eventually be able to figure out, here's what we can do. But human first doesn't mean try to make what I do more human centric or human focused. It's actually connecting with someone without any preconceptions of this is what this person may need, and just trying to ask questions and listen. That's human first. Once I do that, now I can move on to financial planning. Now I can move on to portfolio management. But it really has to start with understanding who that human is first and what really matters to them.
Russ, if I'm a financial advisor watching this program, and presumably there are a lot of people out there, and they're picking up on this and they're saying, how do I learn more? You've got the SHIFT conference coming up March 24th and 25th. What is SHIFT? I know SHIFT is shifting the industry to this people-centric, but what are they going to learn at SHIFT? How do they get involved?
If you go to the conference, you're going to see a lot of speakers there who have been doing this work for a long time. You're also going to see hundreds of people. Most of them are going to be financial advisors, and they are already focused or becoming focused on shifting the conversation. And the key is to take human first as a mindset as an advisor, and then try to apply it to everything you do. For example, if I'm going to talk about investing, human first investing means what matters to these people? Do they actually want to invest according to their values? Do they have certain beliefs where these are things I like to invest in, but these are things I don't like to invest in? Do they have beliefs that are, long told where this is what we used to do years ago and this is what my grandfather did, so this is what I want to do? Are those stories out there? That means trying to get a human first approach to that process. If you're working on marketing, human first marketing is something that we'll talk about at the conference, where what are these people thinking? How do we connect with them? Anything that's involved in the financial planning process, from prospecting to onboarding to investing to leveraging technology, it's all going to take the approach of, if I have a human first mentality and I think about the person I'm working with, what's going to matter here? So it's a shift of all aspects of the industry.
And so you got a lot of topics. You're going to clearly have a lot of financial advisors sharing their experience, and hopefully a lot of financial advisors learning to shift their own practices. But you've also got a lot of supporters, asset management firms, record keepers. There are a lot of people within the industry that have bought into this already. They're going to be appearing at Shift as well.
It's exciting when I reach out to some of the vendors or some of the technology providers and to find out how far down the road they are to human first. So we may have come up with the word shift and human first financial guidance. We really just put a name to what's been going on over the last few years. You have many of these firms out there where they already understand and have adapted their companies to reach people in a human first perspective. It comes from client engagement to technology to how you do reporting, as I said, investing, how you do marketing. It's already out there. So to actually be around these companies that get it and want to help advisors in that aspect, it's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, and look, the advisor community has to work hand in hand with these, I'm just going to call them interested third parties like asset management firms. It is symbiotic. They can't work mutually exclusive from one another. Ross, well, great to see you. As always, thanks so much for joining us, and we look forward to having you back on the program again very soon.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks.
That wraps up this episode of BRNAM. Have a topic of interest, someone you think we should talk to, drop us a line, and don't forget, for all the latest curated news and lifestyle, wellness, finance, tech, so much more all in one place, check out today's edition of our daily newsletter, The Morning Pulse. Want to search our archives, check out our latest content? Then visit our website. We're back again tomorrow with another edition of BRN Weekly. James King will be here, joining us from the NASDAQ, and then we'll be taking a look back at some of our best segments of the week. Until then, I'm Jeff Snyder. Stay safe, keep on saving, and don't forget, roll with the changes. Now is your opportunity to co-create content around any topic on the first lifestyle and wellness network. Reach a global audience through our platform and co-own exclusive branded content. All of our programs are available on demand and also as audio-only podcasts, so you can take us on the go. Broadcast Retirement Network, available anytime, anywhere, and on any device.